Welcome to my warehouse here in cloudy, dreary Michigan. It's been gray all day, a little too humid for my liking, and not gonna lie, I've been a bit under the weather today. Allergy stuff. It must be that, right? And so, everyone who's here right now, thank you for coming. I have to quick do what I do, where I share the video, and hopefully you can share the video too. This video is going to be 7 mistakes. That's how many I wrote out. I could do more, who knows. That new resellers often make. The kind of things that maybe are overlooked or are not talked about often. But these are mistakes that I've made, mistakes that I've seen a lot of new sellers make. And as soon as this video goes up on my channel, I'll be able to share the link. But sometimes there's a delay. I share the links on my Twitter, which is at WBKnoblock. That's the same as my Instagram. I also share these links in the Facebook group. And the Facebook group is WBK Ultra Group. There's a link in the description. Interestingly enough, it still hasn't popped up yet. Here we go there. Now we're there. So let's see who's all in the chat. And if you're missing these videos when they go live, you can hit the little bell notification by my subscribe button. And that will help you make sure you watch the videos as they come out. The new studio is looking good in my house. I've got 2 cameras set up. I'm getting the internet situation set up. I'm learning more and more about how, oh shoot, I accidentally didn't share the link. We're learning more and more about how OBS works and how I'm able to, have a more professional setup. Does it actually? That's so funny. It doesn't. Something isn't working right now because it looks like the mirror is flipped, and it shouldn't be. Usually, I thought it uploads all the videos, all the thumbnails, to be the mirror image. So we have Lorenda and Tommy Boy. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? Sorry, I'm a bit slower to get this one started. I'm moving a bit slow right now. Yeah, that's so weird that it's not showing up the mirror image. So the piece of paper that I wrote the title on that I hold up in the thumbnail, usually that's displayed the right way, isn't it? Yeah, huh. So it must not get flipped until the video's uploaded. Anyways, so yeah, we're just about 3 minutes in, so I'd like to get started. And if you have any questions throughout this throughout the video, please feel free to ask them in the chat that is popping up. I've heard some people say this chat is not showing up in their replays. Don't worry about that. It's probably a glitch. YouTube constantly changes everything they do. And so to worry about individual details is just not worth our time in most cases. Same for Amazon. Oftentimes people are having issues with their Amazon app showing up. Like I had someone today seem pretty upset that they couldn't see their Amazon FBA sales on the app, and they tried to contact the Amazon and that didn't work, and they just had to delete the app and reinstall it. Sometimes things don't work. Everything, especially when you have these giant worldwide corporations where probably they've got 95 different offices trying to communicate, there's going to be some communication errors and some things that don't get explained correctly, and that's going to lead to glitches, bugs, and that kind of stuff. So again, we've got Shane, Lorenda, Commander Gree, Tommy Boy. How are you all? So the point of this video again is to talk about mistakes that a lot of beginners make on Amazon FBA. I guess I'll probably have to post like, hey, skip to 5 minutes, because the first 4 minutes has just been kind of me getting things set up. And I am not gonna lie, I have less energy right now than I did yesterday. I thought about even delaying this until tomorrow and just doing back-to-back live streams, but that's a bad idea, I think. So eBay differs from Amazon and Mercari differs from Amazon in that I would say that those two are much more difficult to understand than Amazon is. Mercari is very straightforward. Download the app, take a picture, you get paid. eBay is straightforward, but there's a bit more nuance to it with eBay stores, with how eBay facilitates search on their website, which with how you can promote listings, that kind of stuff. And then Amazon is like the big boy playground where there's way more things you can do wrong. You can lose a lot more money. A lot of it is lesser known stuff, and because of all these things, you can make a lot more mistakes. And I don't mean things like buying bad products, because everyone has to learn how to buy good products, and that's pretty much the same across all platforms. You just look at supply and demand, that kind of stuff. But I mean things that you could have the right products and still potentially lose money. And I know that's what a lot of people worry about, is losing money. And that's why I say start off with used books, because I think that doing used books is going to be the easiest way to avoid these pitfalls, but potential pitfalls, I should say. But again, if you like, for example, if you don't understand the fee structure, which is my reason number one that people get, or my mistake number one that people might fall victim to, it doesn't matter how great your book is if it's not profitable. If you don't understand how the FBA fee works, if you don't understand storage fees, things like that. And obviously, with a really good book that's worth like $200, it's going to be very hard to make that, not profitable, assuming it sells. But that's why I kind of kept sales rank off this list, because I feel like a bad sales rank, that isn't the kind of mistake that a lot of beginners are going to make. And if they are, they're gonna learn very quickly from this. So the first one is fee structure. Amazon has several ways that they actually I'm gonna Google this right now. Amazon FBA fee structure, because it isn't the same as Mercari, for example, where it's 10 or 15%. There's gonna be your monthly business fee, your business account fee at $40 a month, or it could be individual $1 a sale. There's going to be FBA fulfillment fees. There's going to be monthly inventory storage fees. There's going to be long-term storage fees. There's going to be removal order fees. There's return processing fees. There's unplanned service fees. There's FBA overage fees. And then there's the money that Amazon takes just for the transaction as well. So what's a monthly storage fee? It's going to be the storage fee that's charged to you for all the items stored at fulfillment centers based on the calendar month and your daily average volume of inventory. So from January to September, that's going to be 75 cents per cubic foot for standard size, and that's going to be 48 cents per cubic foot for oversized items. And then in Q4, from October to December, the cost per cubic foot goes up by about 300%. It goes from 75 cents per cubic foot to $2.40 per cubic foot. And what they say for this is monthly inventory storage fees are typically charged between the 7th and the 15th day of the month of the following month. So when you get charged in July, it's for June's storage fees, the following month of which the fee applies. For example, to see your storage fee in January, refer to the February payments report. And so these are just going to be your standard storage fee for Amazon. And then once the items are longer than 6 months in storage, that's when you begin to have long-term storage fees, which are really what a lot of people worry about, because the long-term storage fees are where items start to add up, and you begin to have, depending on how long the item has been there, per item storage fees. So really, that's why I try and say keep everything under 180 months. That's about, or 180 days. That's about 6 months. As long as you're getting most of your items sold in the first 90 days and almost all your items sold in the first 180 days, so the first 6 months, you're going to avoid a lot of the more costly storage fees. I'll post a link to that, what I'm talking about right now, because it's the kind of thing where I'm not going to read off the whole chart, but it really is the kind of thing that you should be aware of. The good news is that Amazon does. Let's say you send in 100 books. Let's say it's a wholesale deal. It's 100 books wholesale deal, and you send in 25 a month for 4 months. The first inventory that gets checked in, that's going to be the first to sell. So even though you have this ASIN or this SKU that is filled up in your Amazon inventory for more than 180 days, as long as any individual units are not over 180 days, they're not going to start accruing these long-term storage fees. There's also, I would say, in regards to the more recent announcement Amazon made about changing storage, everyone should go and review how much new inventory or how much inventory in general you can send. Amazon has links to that. I'd say that's more that probably warrants its own segment on a video like this on a live stream. So I'm not going to talk about it yet. But if there is interest in like more intermediate podcast, live stream episodes like that where we talk about inventory restrictions for Amazon, it's not really going to bring in the most views, I wouldn't think. But I imagine that it's also going to definitely help people understand how much they can send in and how much inventory or private label products they should order. That'd be a fun video too, doing private label products. Gina Moody says, can you explain FBM as well? Thank you. So FBM is in opposite of FBA. FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. FBM stands for Fulfilled by Merchant. You're going to hear me call it MF as well. Manual fulfillment or merchant fulfillment. I use those two terms synonymously in the context of the various ways that Amazon allows you to ship products. Really, there's only three. The three ways you can do it is FBA, where you send them products and they store and ship them, MF, FBM, or Seller Fulfilled Prime. That's kind of the third opportunity or possibility to sell items on Amazon as a third-party seller. I don't go into that because I don't do it personally. I think it's a very bad idea, especially now during coronavirus times, because you're beholden to this two-day shipping time period. And as everyone who's bought anything in the past 6 months knows, we are not meeting those on a very regular basis. Jeff Brucker says, holy crap, caught you live. Hey there from Minnesota. Hope you are surviving the mosquitoes, Jeff. Curious where you are. Mike Has It says, I'm here, Blake. Thanks for all the great info. Always the best. Al Ruiz says, hello from Arizona. Misha Powell says, hola. One Thrift Cookie says, hi. As a reseller, I got my LLC and put only internet sales as my business. Is that enough? Is that too vague? Thank you. I don't really think it matters that much. It's definitely going to differ by state. But in Michigan, the kind of business that you have on your LLC, they use that in regards to more regulation. So if you're not in an industry that is further regulated beyond just, a typical, like a garage sale would be, I guess, then I wouldn't think it would matter. But always check with your state, and always, if you're really worried, you're going to have to consult with an attorney because they're the ones who really know the laws, not some joker on YouTube talking into his phone. Mommy Hasn't Showered is here. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all for coming. We're at about 40 people. And if you are here, please give the video a thumbs up and ask any questions you might have about beginner mistakes, getting started for FBA on Amazon, or even just getting started selling things at all. So the second thing I want to talk about that I'm seeing a lot of newer sellers get hung up on and actually losing money because they don't understand it completely is IPI, Inventory Performance Index, and then going off of that, thinking their IPI score might be too low, so they're lowering the price of their products to an unprofitable point or to such a low number that they sell faster than is actually necessary. People may look at, I don't have a high enough IPI score, and that's bad, and that's kind of taking a too simplistic approach to it. What you're going to want to do is look to see, okay, if I do have below a 500 IPI score, how is that going to limit the amount of items I can send in? If you are primarily an FBM seller, meaning you ship things out yourself from your warehouse like I have right here, Although I want to make this clear, I am not primarily an FBM seller. But if you are, then it isn't a big deal if your IPI score is too low. I checked to see what my IPI score would be if I didn't pass the number, and I'm probably not. I mean, to be honest, I'm probably not going to have above 500 during Q4, and so I'm going to have limited storage inventory for my storage. Is that going to harm my business? Theoretically, yes, but realistically, no, because the amount of storage that I am limited to is not a small amount. It's still over 200 square feet. It's not unlimited, but cubic feet, not square feet. 200 cubic feet, that is a lot of space. And so even though I'm technically too low, I'm still not seeing any difference in the amount of things I can send in. Now, certainly if I wanted to transition my business to wholesale, that would be a limitation and an obstacle in my way. But because I'm primarily resale stuff and I have one of one items and I buy them for $10 and sell them for 200, it isn't that big of a deal for me. We've got Shadow Artistries. They go, hello from Canada. Small question about tech. Do you have any tips for cable boxes, Wi-Fi routers, TRMP, TES? I don't know what that is. Found a box with a variety of bunch. Thank you in advance. So in Michigan, there was actually an issue that some people ran into selling Comcast cable boxes because they were still technically Comcast's property. This is like 15 or 10 years ago. I'm not sure how those laws have changed. Wi-Fi routers and TRMP. I would assume TRMP, that's some sort of network management system. I'm not sure what that is, though. Look them up individually by model number on Amazon or on eBay. And they're all going to be generally pretty light. And so I guess you're in Canada, so everything costs a lot to ship there. But I would say if it was my business, nothing that makes me less than like $40 or $30, I would sell individually. Okay. So the answer is remotes, not TR. So a lot of remotes. That changes my answer then. Remotes are a gold mine. They're awesome to have. The cable boxes, those are going to be harder to sell, I would think, although I'm not sure. And the Wi-Fi routers, you're probably going to be able to sell a portion of those, but a lot of them are going to be so old and so obsolete that your best bet might be to sell them locally for a menial amount, potentially scrap them, or sell them in an auction in a lot, depending on how heavy it is, and if that's going to make sense. The remotes, I don't have any remotes around me right now. I just picked up a remote that sells for about $70. It's a Logitech remote with a touchpad on it. I paid $5 for it. It'll go for about $70. Some of those remotes for home entertainment systems, for large TVs, remotes with touchpads, remotes that work specifically for multi-unit systems, be they home entertainment or recording, whatever it is, those are going to be worth a lot more money. The same with any OEM, meaning from the I think that's what OEM means. Original something manufacturer. So, but what those are, forget what I just said. If they're like Sony remotes for a Sony DVD VCR combo, or Philips remotes from a Sony Philips remotes from a VCR DVD combo, those are going to sell for between like $25 to $75 on average. Not all of them, the ones that are good on average, I mean. So what I would do is I would pick those out, look them up individually, and then pick out the Wi-Fi routers as well. OEM, original equipment manufacturer. That sounds about right. So that's what I would do if I were you. Gina Moody says, how worried should I be about IP complaints? I'm really worried before I start. Well, if you don't start, there's no worry. IP complaints only hurt you if you have a business. So I would say get started. And then if you get an IP complaint, handle it that way. How can you avoid IP complaints? Sell used books. I've never heard of anyone getting an IP complaint selling used books. Jeff Booker says, Mankato, Minnesota hasn't been too bad for mosquitoes. Usually it's bad. They're big here. I'm talking about Twin Engines. Yeah. I've been up to northern Minnesota, and they're just like moose with wings. They're huge. Mike has it, says, hit that like for you. I can't stay. Got to go to the daughter. Bath, bed stuff, etc. I will let the live run full length for you, though. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate everyone's support. Jennifer C. says, I've gotten refunds because of order not received. Do I lose money on that with FBA? How does that work? Thanks. So if you're buying this postage through Amazon, you should get a refund, and it should take between 30 and 60 days, but you can pester them and get that refund earlier. Now, I say should. Does that mean it always happens? No, absolutely not. There are things that don't go according to plan all of the time. It isn't personal. No one's attacking you. It's just, it fell through the cracks. So always you want to make sure at the end of every month or every quarter, you go through your inventory reconciliation reports on Amazon and Seller Central, see what hasn't been reconciled, and get those refunds if there are any. Sometimes I have a lot, sometimes I have nothing. It isn't the kind of thing where there's like, oh, they just purposefully don't refund 10% of your items. I think it really has to do with just a lot of human error. QueenFit22 says, I'm just starting my Amazon seller account. Excited to start selling books. Thank you for the videos. You're welcome, and thank you for starting doing that, because the more people who are making money on their own terms, the better everything is gonna be. Gina Moody says, thank you, Walter. And Cindy says, hello from Las Vegas. Well, hello from Michigan. Las Vegas sounds, I was just complaining about how hot it is here, but I'm sure it's much hotter in Las Vegas. Thomas Morelio says, is selling used books like selling other items on Amazon? Like ungating. Do you need a manufacturer or wholesale receipt to sell to Amazon? So there's always the chance that someone says this book is counterfeit, and they're going to ask you to provide a receipt. Or they're going to ask you to provide an invoice. That's always a possibility. Okay, so I feel like people, when I say that, I feel like people think, oh, it's going to happen. No, it's a non-zero chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that there's the potential for it to happen. And that could be a fraction of a percent, but still, the way the Amazon terms and conditions in terms of service are outlined, if anything is believed to be counterfeit, new or used, and you can't show where you got it from, then potentially they could take actions against you. Is it likely that someone's going to think that this DVD is counterfeit if I sell it used? Maybe. I mean, it does look kind of, actually a DVD-R. So this is probably an example of where they would think it's counterfeit. That being said, I've sold tons of these National Geographic DVDs and no one said anything. I've sold them used, no issue. I've sold tons of books. I've sold millions of dollars in books over the years, which sounds like a lot of money, but really, it is not that much money, because a lot of the times I'm selling the book for $10 and making $1 off of it, or at least I was back when I was doing truckloads of books. I would not do that any longer. And so it's a possibility that you'll get an IP claim, but it's the same possibility like, oh, will I get hit by a car when I'm driving home from work? Like, yeah, there's a possibility, but we all still drive. You know, that's kind of my answer to it. Cindy Pierce says, only 109 today. Ay caramba. Commander Gree says, what advice can you give someone just using credit cards to fund RAOA inventory? Amazon pays every 2 weeks. How should I use payment? 30% for new stock, 70% to pay credit card bill. Thank you. Do not do this. Do not fund your online arbitrage, retail arbitrage business on credit cards. That's a very bad idea. You are setting yourself up to be screwed over, to make no money, and then have a giant credit card bill 3 years from now. Don't do that. Whoever told you to do that is giving you bad advice, and they don't give a shit about you actually succeeding. They probably want to sell you a course, or they want to make it seem like anyone can do this. Don't do that. It's a really, really, really bad idea. Because again, if you pay off 30%, if you pay off 70% of your credit card bill, then you still have a balance of 30%. And because you're being charged 25% APR, that's just going to balloon and get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a bad idea, even though like, oh, there's a way to make money off doing this. Unless you have so much cash flow where you're buying these things and then you can just pay it off with last week's cash flow or when you get paid the next day or whatever it is, I can't recommend doing that. That's why I say used books, because used books cost 25 cents or $1. You can get them for really cheap. You're not going to have to spend money paying interest on credit card bills to try and do online arbitrage as a beginner, when there's so many trends moving and so many things that you learn after 2 or 3 years of doing online arbitrage. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think it makes way more sense long term to have the patience to start off with used books, or video games and toys on eBay, or find a wholesaler locally and get engaged for food and go that way. And then just use let's say you make $20 last week, use that $20 to buy more inventory and build your snowball up that way. But even that way, you're still going to have to be paying storage fees. You're still going to be paying either the $40 a month or the $1 per item storage fees. So it's really the kind of thing where it's just not a get rich quick scheme, and it should not be treated that way. It's not just money in, money out. There's a whole lot more to it. And although someone who's successful might make it seem that way, if you don't fully understand the process and the fundamentals of why you're making money, you're going to end up with a lot of sales and not a lot of cash. That's actually my fifth point. I'm going to cross these off. My fifth thing that a lot of people are my seventh thing that a lot of people mistake is they focus on sales and not dollar amount. The reason you have this business is to make money. It's not to make sales. And that might sound kind of silly at first, but think about it this way. What's better as a business owner? 1,000 sales at $1 or one sale at $1,000? And you can hem and haw about, well, what about the time it takes? What about, feedback? What about returns? But when it's all said and done, the risk and time involved in that $1,000 sale is going to be more worthwhile to you as an individual and a business owner than those $1,001 sales. You might feel great sharing that screenshot on Instagram where you got the big giant yellow line, but if you have $4,800 in sales and you're running a 15% margin, then me doing $1,000 in sales at an 80% margin is a lot more impressive. It's just, don't get caught up chasing metrics. Get caught up trying to make more money. So there's my advice to you. Thomas Morello says, can that receipt be from a retail store or a thrift store, or it must be a wholesaler manufacturer? Thomas, you're getting too caught up in the details. So basically, the level of granularity that you want in your answer, I can't give to you, because I cannot vet every single wholesaler or manufacturer. There are some times when the wholesalers and manufacturers are not even good for it. You're looking at this from like, oh, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Or that isn't even the case. What's something that I see bad talked about a lot, and how can I avoid that? When the likelihood of this bad thing happening to you, if you stay conservative, is extremely low to begin with. So you should be asking questions like, okay, how do I, you shouldn't even be asking questions at this point. You've been in the chat for so long that you have to start your account, buy 100 used books, and send those in and see what happens. And if you somehow manage to get an IP claim, then that's that. But I just don't know a reality where that's what's gonna happen. You just gotta do it. There's no more planning involved. Just start. Brian Wiley says, WBK, hope all is well. Ballpark hours per week. How hard do you think it is to make net K 50-60 per year? What items do you see as the least path of resistance? So let's say you want to make 60K a year. I'm gonna write this down because I'm not thinking too hot right now. That's about 5K a month, which is gonna make you, let's just say $12.50 a week. $12.50 a week. But that's not gonna be net. So let's say 100K. Let's say 100K, and then we'll net 60. 100K gross profit is gonna be probably, let's say 150K sales, and then that 150 to 100 to 60K are just very, very rough generalizations on revenue, profit before taxes, and profit after taxes, because obviously we all pay income tax. So just, maybe you're going to have expenses, you can write them off that way. But just to be extremely generalized, to get 150, you're going to have to be doing about 12K, we'll say 12,500 revenue a month, which is going to be, what is that? 35, a little less than 33, we'll just say $3,300 a week in sales. So how can you easily get $3,300 a week in sales? Because that's going to give you about 60 grand net profit, very, very conservatively. Probably a lot more than that. Probably you're going to be able to write off a lot of stuff and not have to pay off your total income tax bill. But let's say you live in like the middle of San Francisco and there's city tax and state tax and federal tax and all that lumped on. That's where maybe it gets a bit more difficult. If you're in the middle of nowhere, maybe not. But how do you do that? So you're going to have to be doing truckloads of books, probably, if you want to do books. Or you're going to have to be doing, if you want to go the path of least resistance, I would say find the products that are most plentiful. In my mind, doing retail arbitrage and driving around and buying, potentially buying bots to get drops through and all that stuff, that is the most resistance. The least resistance is just like money, buying things, processing them, getting them out the door. So I'm going to say it's going to be doing truckloads of books. Now, if I remember correctly, I was doing about $500 revenue per pallet of book. So that's going to be about seven pallets of books. So 7 pallets of books a week, which means you're going to want to be ordering, about a truckload a month, which is going to run you about $3,000 plus warehouse space. So I would say the path of least resistance to get involved in Amazon to make $60K a year, and this is not going to be actualized until probably your second year of doing this. You're going to take a long time getting your runway up, but I would say it's buy yourself 1,000 square foot or rent out 1,000 square foot warehouse, do 10 pallets a week, yourself involved, and Amazon FBA those, keeping books that are only under 1 million sales rank and then under 2.5 million for your own FBM cash. Cash of books, meaning you have those listed and you sell them out individually. If you do it that way, it's going to be a shit ton of work. You're going to see yourself working. In order to do 10 pallets a week, I'd say that's going to take you, I don't know, maybe 40 to 60 hours, I would say, if it's just you doing it. And if you're taking breaks, and that probably includes like driving an hour or so each day. So you could probably, if you really were cooking, or if you had a helper that you paid $12 an hour, you could get that down to like 25 or 30 hours a week. It's just going to depend how fast you are with your processes. But I would say that's probably the most path of least resistance. But also, your ability to scale up and make more money is totally reliant upon how you manage people. And if you're able to bring in employees and hire them up that way. So Brian, hope that helped. Kind of a bit of a ramble, but I think we worked through an easy way to make 60K profit a year. Probably a lot more than that. But if you're doing 7 to 10 pallets of books a week, and these are donation books, you should be getting $35 revenue a month. Obviously there's some bad pallets. Obviously, you're gonna have times where you make more than that and you make less than that. But if you're staying like $5 or more profit per book for FBA, that should be pretty accessible. As long as you're, remembering to, take all your old books and sell your old books as home decor. Sell the kid books in lots at local auctions, stuff like that. And I have other videos on that. My bookseller blueprint is not currently for sale. I have to update it for 2020, but as soon as it is, that'll be available for purchase, and that really goes into a lot more detail about how to fine-tune that business to make it as big as you want, or as small as you want for that matter. Okie dokie, we're at about a half hour, and we have 52 people in the live stream. If you can, give it a thumbs up right now, and let me know what you are curious about learning. What I can do is I can go over 3 more of the things that I've noticed about mistakes that new Amazon FBA sellers make, because I have been noticing a lot of the same complaints, and those complaints generally stem from mistakes the person made and they're not aware that they made. Brian Wiley says, thanks for your answer. I like your mantra of not working yourself and living life. Yeah, that's exactly what I try and do. It's like the idea of being like a lifestyle entrepreneur, where what I try and do is have a good lifestyle, have a life that I enjoy. Like today, I didn't work at all today. I told you I felt like garbage this morning, just allergy stuff weighing me down. So I slept in, did work around the house, played some video games, and then came in at 5 o'clock to do this live stream just because I want to give you guys a sense of routine. Certainly, if I was working a job or if I was reliant upon every day's income to pay my bills, I couldn't have done that, but I have my business and my life set up in a way where it's okay for me to take breaks once in a while. And likewise, I'll sometimes have these spurts where I work, 40 hours in 3 days. It's all about the individual and what works for them. Yuri Black says, C Corp or LLC, C Corp or LLC. Start your business first. Start it as an LLC, and when tax time comes around, talk to an accountant. And if you're making enough money, they'll tell you, okay, you should be a C Corp, a C Corp. Like the main reason that most people are C Corps, if you read a lot of startup threads, is because they want to sell their business. Not many Amazon sellers sell their business, so the difference between your LLC and your C Corp is going to be in the way that you pay yourself and the way that taxes work. Because when Donald Trump got elected, he changed around a lot of the tax stuff. Where for some people who were LLCs, they were able to save 20% or 15% of their taxes by converting to a C Corp. CJ Spenos says, hey Blake, what do you do with Amazon returns? Resell on eBay? No, I test them, and if they work, I just put them back on Amazon. A lot of times, people will lie about things not working, being defective, just to not pay return shipping. They're pieces of shit, they're liars, they're garbage people, but they exist, and they are a portion of our customers. So, instead of getting upset over it, I try and just roll with the punches, test it, relist it, and just, it's a loss on your business. You take it against your profit. Ken Croft says, question, found a vintage Kenwood stereo system and turntable, the whole amplifier and stuff. Better to sell it together or separate units on eBay? So if you sell it together, it's going to sell a lot faster, but potentially for less money. Although if you ship it all as one time, you're going to pay a lot less in shipping, and that lower amount in shipping is going to be potentially more than you are making less. You know what I'm saying? So if you piecemeal it out and you make $500 revenue on that, but it's $150 to ship because this stuff's heavy as shit, you're netting $350. Whereas you could sell it for $450, pay $50 to ship one box full of stuff, and you're netting $400. Or you know what I'm saying? You're grossing $400, I guess, depending on how you look at this. But your money, your profit, I guess, after shipping is going to be higher, even though the revenue is lower. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Mr. Maskman says, do you have videos on how to package different items, like where you get packaging materials, etc.? I don't have any videos on where I get packaging materials, but if you drive behind any store, any big box store, they're going to have boxes in the recycling. If you don't want to do that, you can go to Home Depot and buy boxes. You can buy bubble wrap on eBay. It's not really that hard to find. In regards to how I ship things, most things I put in a Type O bubble mailer, and if I do VCRs, I'm generally buying a 12 by 16 by 12 box, and then cutting the top of it off and making it a much smaller box, and being able to ship it under. So it's usually a 12 by 16 by 5 or 6 size box, and that usually qualifies for pretty cheap volume-based shipping. Shadow Artistry says, my shipping stuff always comes from dumpsters. Yeah, it's a great way to save money, a great way to upcycle, I suppose. Mindset Flipper says, also check Facebook. I see free moving boxes come up all the time in my local area. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes for things to resell too. Oftentimes there are people who are who are just giving away books on Facebook Marketplace because they're moving and they don't want to carry them around because books are heavy. You can get shipping materials for free. You can also get inventory for free. Brian Wiley says, could you do the net 50, 60K doing DVDs and not books? It's pretty much the same process. I don't know off the top of my head how much or where you can even buy pallets of DVDs from. That's going to be more finding your own suppliers, that kind of stuff, and then figuring out what they're worth for that. But it's pretty much the same numbers because they have this. The reason I like books more than DVDs in this case is because you can FBM DVDs a lot easier and ship them for between like $280 and $320, as opposed to paying the FBA fee and whatever it is. So you can potentially make a bit more money, especially on multiple orders. But the numbers are the same. You just take gross revenue minus FBA fees minus taxes, and that's your number. So in order to make 60K in the most taxing situation, you're going to want to do about 150K revenue a year in DVD sales and CDs, which is just, you know, what is that? If you sell if you sell them for $15 a piece, that's 1,000 DVDs. Mark Roney says, do you recommend any distributors to get ungated in DVDs and music? Yeah, sure, I'll put it in the link. AENT.com is who I recommend. And I have a whole video. It's like a 25-minute video that's totally free on YouTube. As far as I know, I'm the only person who has that good of a video for free on YouTube that you can watch. And I go through my ebook that I sell for, it's like $50, I think, or $100, one of the two. And I go through it page by page, basically, for free. So you can buy the ebook in addition to what I said, or you can just watch the video over and over again and do it that way. And I go into detail about how to get ungated and about who I use to get ungated. Christian Gonzalez asks, what app does the average person use for Amazon FBA retail arbitrage at Dollar Tree? They're going to use the Amazon Seller app. It's free to use. Shadow Artistry says, found some branded stuff a while ago and received an inquiry about the brand. Little bit worried that it's a private label item, but sold it yesterday. Question came in Monday. So, in order for someone to file a complaint about a product being counterfeit, they have to buy it first. So I would check to see where the item is going if you have that ability, and see if it's like a lawyer or if it's a warehouse. And if it is, cancel the order and take down the listing. That's what my advice would be. And also let us know what the brand is too, so we can avoid buying that. You know, for a long time, like Beachbody used to be a total no-go. WebRoot virus software was a no-go. I got an intellectual property complaint from them in 2016 or 17, and I actually called them and I was like, hey, can you guys not do this? And they were really, really friendly about it, but they were paying, what a lot of these larger companies do is they'll pay these like third-party law firms to send out massive complaints, and then they, whatever the desired outcome is, they get paid per outcome. So if it's that lawsuits, if that's things taken down or whatever it is, the law firms get paid on a performance basis, and that's what happens a lot. Shadow Artistry says, pretty sure it was the brand owner, found the stuff in the box in the back through Wedding Star. Yeah, so let's see, Wedding Star. Wedding Star, Amazon. Looks like they have 185 products for sale, a lot of masks. So yeah, to me this looks like a pretty basic private label business. I wouldn't want to mess with them because my guess is that they are probably Chinese sellers, and they are notorious for not giving a shit about like what's the right thing or the wrong thing, and just trying to scorched earth away all their competition. It's so funny how everyone's selling masks now, and 6 months ago you're going to go to jail for it. Let's look at their reviews. 7 reviews, so yeah, definitely a newer product. I would not mess with that. Yeah, if I were you. We have Thrifty Lobster in the chat. Mark Rona, Mindset Flipper, Shadow Artistries, Mr. Maskman. Hello, thank you all for coming. So, I want to talk about poor packaging for Amazon FBA because a lot of new sellers have a hard time understanding what exactly happens to their product from the point it leaves their house or their garage or their warehouse to the point it gets to a customer, and all of the issues that might happen along the way to the product that proper packaging might protect. Now, if you are a long-time viewer of the channel, I posted a video a few months ago about how I prep VCRs when I FBA them, and I actually really rig up my VCRs basically almost the same way that I ship them out myself, FBM, because for a while I was getting like 30% returns on VCRs because they were damaged. Since I've sold VCRs myself doing FBM since COVID started, I have had 0 returns at all on VCRs and only 1 return on a CDR recorder. And that's because they didn't know how to work because they're an idiot. Because a lot of those more niche devices like dual deck DVD recorders or CD recorders or whatever it is, they have to be hooked up to a computer, or they have to have some sort of like proprietary software involved in their use that's not with the product, but just like part of like the whole suite of products that you have to buy. And a lot of people who buy things on Amazon, a lot of people in general just don't do the research. That's what's become so insanely obvious to me over the past 6 months or so, is that we live in a world populated by complete idiots who just go off their how they feel immediately, what their opinion is right now, what emotion has been triggered inside them, all that stuff, and no one has the presence of mind to take 5 minutes and research what issue they're having, and if it's a real issue, if it's their fault, or if it's just, you know, potentially the thing actually is broken. We live in a society where everyone is just like, life has been so good for so long that there's no consequence for being an idiot. I say that time and time again. So when you package something poorly, let's say you just put your VCR in a poly bag, put 5 or 6 VCRs in a 18 by 18 by 6 Lowe's box and send that to Amazon. Even though it might get to Amazon totally fine, you have these idiots working in the warehouses who are throwing packages around. Not to mention, the way they're going to package that item might not be the absolute most responsible way. It might be that they just put it in a box with like 2 things of paper, and the boxes has, you know, 26 inches on each side of open room. That's why everything that I send to Amazon and everything that I think you should send to Amazon should be packaged in a way that if Amazon used no extra packaging of their own, they just popped a label on there, it's still going to get to the customer safely. And that's really a big mistake that a lot of new sellers have. Excuse me. I'm a full-time high school teacher who started FBA 2 years ago, just trying it as a hobby, and now it's a real small business. Happy because I'm able to supplement my income during the summer. I've been selling used books and dollar store goods, which are profitable. First year grossed 40 grand. Now I have an account with a toy distributor, but I need more cash to grow inventory. Should I use more debt to fund inventory for a Q4 toy rush? Thoughts? How did you do it? After you sold books, did you have a credit card debt? How'd you manage to do it now? My business, so I have not always been a bookseller. I had an importation business a long time ago, and that was primarily debt funded because I would buy things a month before and then sell them the next month, and I'd pay off the debt that way. It was like I had a business line of credit, and then Donald Trump got elected, and I wasn't really paying attention to the news close enough, and all of his tariffs really screwed me over. So I had a lot of business debt from that. Then I had to have dental surgery, and I had to have 6 crowns put in my head because of stuff when I was a kid and just a lot of bad stuff. So I had a lot of debt built up from things that were not inventory related. So when I've talked about that in the past, it's not because I was buying inventory on credit cards. It's because I just got kind of unlucky, you know, in 2 pretty major ways. So I would say if you need to do that and you're pretty reliant upon the cash flow you have from your book inventory, you know, it's always hard to recommend what way to take on debt because everyone's situation is different, and you don't want to give someone advice that ends up like having them lose their home. I don't think it depends what the minimum order is. I mean, unless the minimum order is like $25,000, you should be able to make enough money selling books to pay for that first order in cash, especially if you do 30 grand a year or 40 grand your first year. You should be doing probably 60 to 80 grand this year. 60 or 80 grand if you're doing books. I would hope that nets you about 30 or 40 grand profit. About half, 50% profit. I would hope you're doing it that way. And if you're a full-time teacher, I would just say use that money. Use the money from your business to fund the toy distribution. I don't think it's worth going into debt over, especially because there's no guarantee that these Q4 toys you have, you're going to get them before Christmas starts. They could be on 6-month back order. And there could be that's just a big risk to take. And if you have the money to handle that, then by all means go for it. But if you're talking about leveraging credit card debt, I hear that being thrown out a lot recently, and I don't think it's a good idea, just because of the way that debt tends to snowball. Thomas Watson says, is the buy box price on Amazon seller the same for both new and used prices? No. Is there a different buy box price? If so, where do you find both prices? So you're going to have to go to the listing, or you're going to have to download an app like Profit Bandit, and that should show you the used buy box and the new buy box. I don't remember the way that they signify it. It's like has like a solid border outside of the price. I'm not sure. You can also use the Amazon Seller app and click on, depending on how you list the product, when you go to the listing page, inventory info page, it'll tell you what the buy box is. And so if you have it listed as used, it'll tell you used. And if you have it listed as new, it'll tell you the new. And it's never going to get confused because each listing, new or used, is going to have its own individual FN SKU. And so they're going to be differentiated in your inventory page on the app or on desktop for that matter. Yuri Black says, talk about employees. I don't like doing the work. I have a part-time helper helping me out with eBay. I don't like having employees. I don't like managing people. I give people far too much freedom, and people are usually lazy. And when I'm working, I expect everyone else to be working too, and so I just don't have the right attitude for it, I guess. What I have to do is figure out a way to pay people only based on how much work they do. Only have it be just like commission-based per se. Mr. Maskman says, do you have any advice for a total beginner, i.e. someone who has never sold anything before? Yes, get on Mercari, that's the easiest app, and sell things around your house. Once you make about $300 around your house, start going to thrift stores, buying things you see selling at thrift stores. Once you have $500, start your Amazon account and start doing used books, FBA. That's how you should get started. That's like the easiest way to get started, and that's like the best way to like understand how supply and demand works, how a marketplace like Mercari works. That's like a beginner baby marketplace, and then how slowly transition into Amazon using money you've already saved up, not just going further into a hole. Thomas Watson's Commander agrees, says, thank you so much, Walter. I'm on track for 60 this year. I started on Amazon FBA by first driving DoorDash to make money. Yeah, that's the way you gotta do it, man. Slow and steady, not debt funded. I mean, obviously there are so many reasons to be good, so many good reasons to take out debt, but without knowing everyone's individual circumstance, I'm always gonna default to don't take unnecessary risks. As a shortcut, because shortcuts don't usually work, except for folks who don't need shortcuts, it seems, right? Thomas Watson asks, for used listings, do you usually just price it at the buy box immediately without thinking it? No. So that's what I used to do, maybe my first 2 or 3 years on Amazon. But as I got more and more into looking at Keepa listings and researching like how buying patterns actually are, and understanding that if a product is discontinued, oftentimes what the buy box price is too low to meet demand in the market. Because again, when you're selling used items, you only, like the way I do, like the way I sell, the Governor Funko Pop, I only have to sell one of these guys. I don't have 500 in my warehouse. So I only have to sell one. So if it takes me 2 months to find my one buyer who will pay $25 for that instead of $12 for that, And that is in conjunction with the item running out at that current price, etc. Then that's worth it for me. But for most beginners, I say just go by the buy box because it's faster. Because you haven't yet developed like the internal mental paradigms to sort through like large inventory systems and pick out the books that are good and pick them out that are bad. Generally, for beginners, going off the used buy box is a safe bet, just to make sure the inventory moves fast and to make sure that yes, it actually is profitable. I should also add to that too that for books, the only way you can get the used buy box is if you're a seller fulfilled Prime or if you're an FBA seller. So oftentimes, the lowest FBM price on a book is not going to be the buy box price on a book. And so if the lowest FBM price is $9 and there's no FBA used books being sold on that listing, you could theoretically list yours at $15 and still get the buy box because you're the only FBA seller. And that isn't the same for all categories. It just happens to be that books are like that, at least last time I checked. Although who knows how things have changed during the pandemic. Let's see. I'm learning so much about cash flow and your videos are so real. I love your tagline, don't be a shithead. Can't wait for August 4th, says Commander Gree. And thank you, man. I appreciate that. And August 4th, what that is in reference to is the TV show I'm on. It's called Extreme Unboxing, 10 p.m. A&E. I just got the first 4 episodes emailed to me, and I don't have like a major part in the first 3 or the first 2. And I'm in the 3rd episode, and then I haven't watched the 4th yet. And so I'm supposed to be in there's 12 episodes, and I'm in 8 of them, I believe. So it isn't just like, 1 episode per person. There's like 6 cast members or 6 businesses who are effectively cast members, and I'm one of those 6 businesses. Let's see. I just got back from picking up a little over 300 books for $100. Should I go ahead and list them all, or should I scan them first? Listing only the ones with good margins. So what you're going to want to do is scan them all and only list the books with good margins, because why do you want to waste time selling books that are worth nothing? What you can do, just kind of it depends if you're doing FBA or FBM. But if you're doing FBM, listing the book on your phone is like one more step from scanning it. So you scan the book, see the price, and you either scan the next book or press list, which is like in the bottom right corner, put your price, put the quantity, and go on to the next. So that's it sounds like you just bought the books blind. I would be very curious to, I don't know if you make YouTube videos, but if you do, that'd be a great YouTube video to show like, hey, I bought 300 books for $100. Here's the profit I made, and it'll give people a general idea of what $100 are worth. Because a lot of people don't. I would say, so you got 300 books, not 100 books, 300 books. So let's say you have a 15% acceptance rate. That puts you at 45 books. Let's say the average profit is $5, which is pretty standard, I guess. So 45 times 5 is $225. So I would bet that you probably made $125 when it's all said and done. But those books, you might not see that profit for about 3 months or 4 months, depending on how long it takes the books to sell. I like doing that kind of stuff, like buying bulk pallets and just like seeing what they're worth. I think that's useful information. I don't know though. Are there any more questions, guys? Any more questions? Ask your final, 15, 20-minute questions right now. I'm going to get out of here and go home and go to bed because, again, I feel like garbage right now. Thomas Watson says, I typically use Amazon Seller from my phone to research and list on Amazon. I use my CPU for FBA shipment building. Do you typically use your CPU more for the whole process, from research to shipment? No, I use my phone for almost everything. All I use my computer for is FBA shipments, obviously, but lately all this is just printing off labels to ship things out. So you can pretty much you can do all your Keepa research from your phone. You can do all your FBM listing from your phone. And if you really, really need to, you could even do FBA listing from your phone. Although I wouldn't recommend doing that. So you use Keepa through a browser? No, I use Keepa on my phone. What I'll do is I'll just, if I'm really curious about a product on my phone, what I use, not anymore. I was using Profit Bandit, but now I'm not. You can just go to Keepa.com on your phone, and is that what you asked? Yeah, through a browser on my phone. Yeah, I use Chrome on my phone, and I just I put the ASIN in that way, and it takes a bit longer, but generally just I don't. The only time that I'm ever using Keepa in a thrift store to figure out if an item is good is if it's like a book with a sales rank of like 2 or 3 million and it's worth like $100 or more, or if it's like a VCR that's an old like an old hi-fi VCR that's like 500,000 sales rank, or if it's like a DVD that's like 250 sales rank, or if it's like a toy that's like 1 million sales rank. That's like the general range in which I'm using Keepa to see if an item is potentially going to sell. Because pretty much anything below those numbers, I know it's going to sell, and in my head, I have a general idea of what the sales rank range is going to be for an FBA item or for an FBM item. So like if it's a book, if it's, 1.75 million and it's a $25 profit book, I'm probably going to FBM that. If it's 900,000 book and the profit's $5, I'm going to FBA that. Just things that I've learned over the years, tracking my sales. I don't have like a hard line for, here's FBA versus FBM. It's just kind of a gut feeling that I go by. And I can, give you a general idea, but it's not a guarantee. We have DJ Crazy Jimmy just joining. Sorry, man, I'm heading out. But I appreciate everyone who stopped by. And if you have questions after you watch the video, put them in the comment section below. And if you have ideas for other live streams, what things I could do, or other videos I could make, I just got 2 Sony A5100 cameras, so I'm going to be doing a lot more video work with those. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I need to, I want to get back into making a few videos. I feel like I'm running out of things to talk about on live streams, at least for the time being, because I haven't really gone thrifting. So what I wanted to do was one day Q&A, one day I talk about things I want to talk about, and then one day is a thrift haul. But I kind of stopped thrifting in the past few weeks because they stopped accepting donations in the thrift stores around my area, and so the inventory is cheap bullshit. We got $2 from Thomas Watson. I don't have the gong yet. That just reminded me, where the hell is the gong? I bought it like 2 weeks ago. But sorry. $2. I thank you very much. And I bid you all farewell. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate all your support. I know I wasn't the most enthusiastic in this video, but again, I appreciate everyone who listens to the words I say. I'll see you guys later, and remember, above all else, do not be a shithead.